Welcome back, everyone. It is I, the Rambling Collector, here with another Halloween 2022 review for all of you. And today, I figured I'd talk about a more classic manga, and since this one involves vampires, what better time to talk about it than Halloween itself? Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Hellsing by Kohta Hirano. So, Hellsing would in fact be the answer to a what-if scenario from Bram Stoker's Dracula. That being, what if, instead of killing Dracula all those years ago, what if instead Abraham Van Helsing had instead captured Dracula and then used magic to bind Dracula to his family for generations to serve as a secret weapon against other supernatural foes? Therefore, Dracula, or Alucard, has spent a few generations serving the Hellsing family. Our main characters here for this story are Alucard, his master, Sir Integra Farebook Wingates Hellsing, the famous butler of Walter, as well as Alucard's newest minion, Ceres Victoria. And of course, all of them are very well done and well drawn out characters, with Alucard himself being a much more tragic being as Dracula, as they also connect him to the Vlad the Impaler Tepesh. As well as with Integra, we see her in the first few chapters, being tracked down by her uncle after her father just recently passed away, because her uncle was jealous of the fact that Integra herself had been chosen as the new head of the family. But Integra is not a woman you want to cross, and especially the same goes with Ceres Victoria, an innocent English police officer who got caught up in one of the cases of Hellsing. After being attacked by a vampire, Alucard decides to save her by turning her into one. Thus, Ceres becomes the underling of Alucard, and serves the Hellsing organization as a new soldier against the forces of darkness. Now, Walter himself is another badass character, with his ability to control strings and use them as various weapons to create shields, wrap them around his traps, or just to slice and dice a bunch of enemy vampires or ghouls. Now, one of the biggest things I did like about Hellsing was the intense action, the use of various different nods to classic literature of Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, and of course, the obvious one, Bram Stoker's Dracula. Not only this, but the different enemies that Alucard faces, the most dominant one being Nazi vampires in the form of the organization known as Millennium. But we also see Alucard and the forces of Hellsing crossing paths with the Catholic Church, more importantly, one of their undercover organizations known as the Iscariot Organization, Section 13. Now, throughout all of this, I will say it was very well written, with a nice noir style. Not only that, the art style itself, from page to page, was absolutely fantastic. However, I will say that there was one minor thing that really spoiled this manga just a bit. Overall, it was fantastic, but this one little detail really got on my nerves. That being Alexander Anderson's dialogue throughout the entire manga. Now, while I do understand that he has a very heavy Scottish accent, the way he was written, like his dialogue, was so heavily accented, it was nigh on unreadable. And quite frankly, that really spoiled the experience sometimes, especially when he popped up on screen, since Anderson himself is shown as the main rival to Alucard. But it makes it a little bit harder to take him seriously when he can barely be understood. Granted, it did take me a while to fully understand what he was saying, but it took me like 2 to 3 reads to finally understand the dialogue that he was using. Other than that, though, however, I feel that this is only a minor thing, and this might be a me problem, but moving on. I will say this much. The art style for Hellsing has to be one of the most intricate, one of the most absolutely bloody, and one of the most incredible art styles I have ever seen. Despite the fact that manga is usually portrayed in black and white, it is never really given this much detail And in just 10 volumes, we get this. Well, 10 paperback volumes, but also 3 new deluxe editions. And to be quite honest, Hellsing itself is a very beautiful manga to look at, despite the fact that it's very violent, very gory, and in some cases, incredibly dark. I feel like half the time, fans will just be gaping at the beautiful pages of spreads that they see before them. I mean, look at this. From the sheer action shots to the profile areas to just everything about this just screams of intricate art. And I love it. Overall, I'd give Hellsing a solid 10 out of 10. For its short length, but more importantly, its great in-depth action, great characters, and its good plot. Honestly, this is one of the best spin-offs of Bram Stoker's Dracula I've ever read. And quite frankly, it's a manga series that is an absolute classic even to this day. And one that I highly recommend that every single one of you check out at least once for Halloween. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for listening. This is Rambling Collector signing off, and happy Halloween.